Welcome to another episode of In the Nude. Today I want to talk about what if you were actually doing well. I know, suspend disbelief for a second, but you feel behind, you feel broken, you feel like there's so much that needs to be done, but just pause for a second and stick with me. What if you were doing well? What if you were doing well? We spend so much time continuously shaming ourselves, degrading ourselves, and keep having this gap theory, right? Like if you have a list of 7 things to do and you've gotten done 5 of them, your focus is on the 2 you haven't, right? What if instead of continuously moving this bar for what you feel like you should be doing and continuous focus on the things you haven't done, what if you took some time and you thought about what you have done? What if you thought about who you were 5 months ago, 2 months ago, a year ago? What if you started looking back and acknowledging how many goals you have achieved? You want to go further places, and I get that, and I'm here for that push, that drive, that desire to get more into yourself and to feel more safe in your body. But just one of the pathways there is gratitude and acknowledgement about what has been. So if you just pause this and just sit with yourself and think about who you were a handful months or years ago, how you would have handled a conflict that happened yesterday versus how you did today, how you would have felt and where you were and how that was. Think about the different ways that you cope differently or handle things differently, or even simply acknowledge and see what you're doing versus having been blind to it. You're doing really well. It doesn't feel like it because you want so much more for yourself, and that's fantastic, and I'm here for you wanting to show up for yourself that way. But one of the ways to show up for yourself that way and get closer to those things you want is to take the time to see, to celebrate, to acknowledge the effort and work you've already done. It's wonderful how you're showing up for yourself. It's fantastic, the effort and empowerment that you're doing this season of winter. It can be hard for a lot of reasons. A lot of people point to seasonal depression. I want to tell you a secret about seasonal depression. While there is actual science too, of course, the sun, exposure to the sun and what it affects and how it does with people, but there's also other aspects to it. Like, for example, if you lived through CPTSD, if you had childhood trauma, winter was one of the least safe times. Between the holidays, between the cold weather, you were stuck inside a lot. Versus the happiest times in your life were probably when you were outside, away from family, with more distance, riding a bike maybe, in a tree. So when you're in winter and you're around the elements of what you used to be stuck with and unsafe with, it can perpetuate and take your body back to those traumas that you lived through. So it's not just the science of the sun, but it can also be embodiment in our person. And one of the things with that is, if we recognize it, we can see it, and we can give compassion to ourselves and realize that we're not still stuck in that place. If we can take the time to acknowledge what we've survived, how we're trying to care for ourselves now, the more grace and compassion and acknowledgement we can give to who we are, what we're doing and changing, what we're investing in, what we've lived through. It's the small, seemingly small, insignificant things of saying thank you to yourself. The seemingly small, insignificant thing being like, you know what? I didn't handle that great, but I did handle this one part better than I would have last time. I ended up snapping, but I was less aggressive than the last time I snapped. I ended up being short-tempered or reacting when I wanted to respond, but I didn't react as big. Any acknowledgement and understanding of a slight adjustment, a slight of the focus on where we want to be, shifting that attention to gratitude to ourselves, to acknowledgement what is, to compassion to why we are the way we are, not as an excuse, but as a reasoning and thought process and blanket. I'm cold and shivering because I've been outside without a jacket. Sure, having a jacket outside would have been better, but I didn't have the opportunity to have a jacket. But now I can acknowledge the reason I'm shivering and do something about it. I can go get a jacket. I can go stand by a fire. I can go inside. We cannot make the action, make the change, do the things that we need to do to help ourselves if we don't first take the time to see what is, to take the time to see, man, like you were huddling your body within yourself, like you were trying to cover yourself even though you didn't have a jacket. And while that might have not been the most effective path, I'm so glad that you were trying to do something for yourself. So today I want to challenge you. If you're feeling defeated, one, it's fair. There is a lot that can be on our focus. So many things are being thrown at us at the same time. But if we hone into this exact moment, we're present in our body, what it's feeling, where we are. If we sit in nature and just listen to the noises that are there and what's going on within ourselves. If we take the time to see how and who we are in this moment and contrast it to who we used to be and acknowledge the fact that we have made steps, we're doing better than we would have thought. We don't have to continuously have this bar of perfection, this thing that we keep shoving away from ourselves. We're used to being a disappointment. We're used to not being worthy. But we're trying to fix that. We're trying to change that. And that starts with us. It starts with us viewing ourselves differently. It starts with us stopping to focus on the gap, stopping to push our goals away and acknowledge and be grateful for the changes that we have been. Give compassion. It's a hard process to break, and you're trying to do it, and that's amazing. You're doing better than you think you are. I really want and challenge you today to take the time to really think about you, your past you, and how much you've changed. You may not be where you want to be. But man, your old you would be celebrating to be who you are right